So hello guys and welcome again to the channel. So the official previews have already started for the Brothers War set. With this upcoming set, I'll try to have this topic wherein we will discuss specific cards from this set and also try to build out sample deck lists for the upcoming standard with of course the implementation of the Brothers War new card text that we might have checking on the potential, the deck builds and strategy and other related stuff on this. So for this topic for today, we'll have the command set that was revealed, I think that was just a day ago, or that was 2 days ago, from the coverage of the World Championships MTG that was done in Las Vegas. So for this card, I'll present to you the Geeks' command, and the other one for red is Bishwa's command, and for white, Kyla's command. So we're going to start with Geeks' command. We will check this card. This is a 5 to cast sorcery, 3 double black. You can choose 2 from these effects. You can either put 2+1 counters on up to 1 creature. It gains lifelink at the end of turn. Destroy each creature with power 2 or less. Return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Or each opponent sacrifices a creature with the highest power among creatures they control. So having these 2 effects might have variance depending on how their opponent's board would set up or how your draw coming to this 5 mana cost would look like. So of course that will still depend on how the early turns went out with the interactions of your opponents and also what your other cards in your board will be. So we'll just have this deck list later on so we can explain further of this effect. We now go to the next card, which is the white for Kyla's command. This is a 1 double white sorcery also. You can choose 2. You can create a 2/2 colorless artifact creature token. Put a +1 counter on a creature you control. It gains double strike at the end of turn. Or you may search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it to your hand and shuffle. Or you may gain 2 life and then scry 2. By the looks of it, they might be having a potential in white-based aggro decks, but since he's having a sorcery speed, this effect of having to put up some counter might not really be that of a combat trick, but given that it can use this to produce a creature with a construct artifact creature token, or you can just run up or mana fix for a basic plains land. I think this would be revealed to us the deck for maybe for the mono white mid range or black white decks, but I think this would not really be impactful as compared to some of the others commands that will be revealed out on this set. So we now go for the Mishra's command before we head out for the deck list. Deck list suggestion with this Rakdos command deck or Rakdos mid range with these commands applied. So Mishra's commands is X for red. X will depend on how this would 2 effects would look like. You choose target player, you may discard up to X cards, then they draw a card for each card discarded this way. So this spell also deals X damage to target creature, and this spell deals X damage to target planeswalker. So basically, you can choose this to deal for a significant creature of your opponent, or also deal damage to that planeswalker they control. And also the last ability is that you can target creature gets +X/+0 in haste until end of turn. Would not really matter per se because of you already spent enough this, or maybe you can just have to spend 1 for the X to have them haste for that matter. But overall the ability of this would really be for the mid-range black red, or maybe for mono red mid-range if it's possible, wherein you can have this to discard effects to filter out your lands, or if ever you by drawing lands, you can use the extra mana to discard those extra lands and then draw a card for each card discarded. Now for the removal, this is pretty basic. I think they will have only 2 or 3 copies of this in the main, since it will be more effective if you use this probably in your 5th turn or your 6th turn because of the damage produced depending on the value of X. So overall, I think these are just average commands that we use, but would really be helpful if we would be able to apply them to the specific deck builds that we will use, for example in the standard format or other older formats. Now for today's build, I'll present to you the version of the Rakdos commands deck. Not really a refined value, but what I see fit of this build for the current standard, or for the upcoming Bro standard. Now we'll look about, since it is what not really detected on this list, we'll just have them 2 copies of this in the main deck. This is overall the sorceries count. That's 9 plus the 2 Gixis command, that is 11. Then we'll go with the artifacts and enchantments. Artifacts is basically 4 on this, but we also have a creature artifact here in the form of the Flesh Gorger, Tropical Flesh Gorger. That is the new Correction Mythic card. This is the Correction Worm version, wherein you can just cast it for 3 for 3/3, or just have it late game with 7 to cast, 7/5 Menace Lifelink. Now for that setup, since it's only 2 copies, we'll also go with the creature choices. It's generic that we will have Blight Harvester, still a good card to include in the 2-drop, and also Shouldered Apocalypse, since these are very staple cards in this format. Also for black that supports it. Since we're going to go with mid-range approach, we also have some cards that will produce us the card draws. This is copies of Reckoner Buster, also given that they can draw an extra card, and also a good attacker later on. And added with the Celestos, only the 1 copy of this in the main. So this can have a card effect that can add mana of any color to ramp up your mana up to 5 if you play this in the turn 3. And we have this effect that whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you will gain 1 life and then draw a card and discard a card. So also another good life source, and also filter for their hand if you need it. Now for the enchantments, given that the Fable is very strong, still a very strong card to include in this deck, since it's black-red, so 4 copies of this, no questions asked. Then the Cruelty of Geeks. This is a read-ahead multi-purpose card from Dominaria United, wherein you can have the opponent discard a card, choose a creature card or planeswalker from your hand, or you may have this effect as you search your library for any card and put it in your hand, and you will shuffle. You will lose 3 life in the process, but still you will get out with a good or the best answer given the situation. We can search out for your threats on this, and also have this effect of returning target creature card from a graveyard to the battlefield under your control. So there's a bonus of a free reanimator effect, or you can reanimate the worm that was still earlier or was discarded from your hand, and maybe cheat it out by your turn 5 if possible, depending again for the situation. Now for the instance, of course, spot removals was all included, since the aggro metagame is cut down for this, and Fragras as a solid spot removal for any creature. And lastly, a Braid, since only have 1 copy, because I would expect the variants of artifacts in the Brawl metagame, but still we can also use this one if you add more if needed, depending on what we would expect for that metagame. Now for the sorcery lineup that was added along with the command spells, let me just up this one. We'll have Burn Down the House for mass removal, 5 damage to each creature and planeswalker, and create 1/1 red evil tokens when it's needed. Along with this, this is another sweep card, Temporal Firestorm, 5 damage to creature and planeswalker, and then 3 copies of Invoke Despair. We would not really forget this card because it's very staple for most of the black-red decks now in the metagame, of having 4 copies of this. But for our setup, we'll only have 3 copies, as would be needing not really more of the situational sacrifice effects and card draw, but would also rely not only on that, but would have other cards such as our commands to deal with their opponent's threats. And again, Mishra's commands in 3 copies, with our Gixis command 2 copies of this in the main. So that's a total of 11 sorcery, with also 1 copy of spot removal and utility card Soul Transfer that can also return a creature card or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. Overall, we'll check the non-land lineup that is about 36, 610, then sorcery is 11, that's 21, plus 7, 28, plus 8, that is 36. It's really not relying for the good mana drop on this, but I think given on the CMC of 3 mana, I think 3-4 lands would still suffice for this lineup, because that we also have card draws effect. We also have Calestus to ramp us up. And for our land that was added here, the new cards along with the usual cards that even fix our mana and have these channel lands are 1 copy of Blast Zone. So this was reprinted. That was from War of the Spark. This is a very good land effect that can basically blow out any non-land permanents with mana value equal to the number of charge counters. Since we're going to go with the late game, you can basically bloat out any threats such as, for example, we have tokens matchup. You can just basically play this with a charge counter on it, or just pay 3 and then sacrifice, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to number of charge counters. Or you can use that charge counter up by just paying double X and tap, put X charge counters on it. So 1 copies of it in the main, maybe if needed, we're gonna have more in the sideboard. And also another new card from the set. This is Mishra's Foundry. This is supposed to be the old Mishra's Factory that we know, but this is like a debuff version of the card, because you will need to pay 2 to have it a 2/2 assembly worker artifact creature token at the end of turn, instead of having paying 1 from the original Mishra's Factory. But anywho, we can still work around with this because it is now a good man land from the set that is not prevalent before, just before the rotation. So this also has another ability of pay 1 tap, target attacking assembly worker gets +2/+2 until the turn. So the potential of having artifact deck in the coming standard will still be possible with 4 copies of this probability in the main. So for our build, we only have 1 because we're still running black and red colors that might have hindrance in our mana cost. But later on, if they're good for the late game, you can still have this as an additional attacker if needed for certain situations that would require this to be activated. So overall, that's the build and suggestion for our Rakdos command deck tech. Color distribution is more of the black with 20 and red with 13. Same C is 3 for the mana cost, but still will suffice with some of the ramp spells. And these are some of the tokens that we'll use. And when these are given from the new set, these are the spirit tokens, and lastly treasure. Okay, for this setup. I guess that's about it for this deck tech. You hope you like this video. If you do, just click on the lower right portion for subscription, and also turn on notification bells for more of this Brothers War deck tech for standard. Maybe we'll have more for Pioneer Modern if possible, if you have the time to dig out some list and discuss them in detail for this setup. So that's about it for this deck tech Rakdos command and the Rakdos commands build with a preview of the 3 commands from Brothers War. And thank you for checking this video, and until the next time, and see ya.